This is the Tamron 16-70mm f2.8 lens for the Sony APS-C E-mount system, and this thing is a beast. Hey, what's going on everyone? It is Dennis here, and in today's video, we're gonna be talking about this lens right here, the Tamron 17. All right, so just kidding, that did not just happen. So this is actually one of those goofy lens cup thingies. All right, so all joking aside, today I wanted to do a user experience review for this lens. Now I'm gonna be careful with it, I'm not gonna drop it. This is the Tamron 16-70mm f2.8 lens for the Sony APS-C E-mount system, and this thing is a beast. Now I bought the Tamron 16-70mm f2.8 lens to directly replace my Sigma Trio, or Sigma Trifecta as it's known here on YouTube. So that is the 16mm, 30mm, and 56mm. The 16mm was considered the go-to video lens, the 56mm was considered the go-to portrait lens, and then the Sigma 30 was kind of like the middle ground. It could do both, it could do either or. I've actually owned all three of the Sigma lenses, and they are amazing lenses. That f1.4 aperture, mwah, excellent low light and excellent bokeh. Image quality is amazing, autofocus is amazing, great prime lenses. The reason why I decided to buy the Tamron is because I'm lazy. I'm just gonna be forward and say that I'm just lazy. I'm a run and gun type of video shooter, so the most amount of lenses I'm willing to take with me is 2. And then that's usually a wide angle and then some type of zoom. If I have to bring 3 different lenses that can only get me 3 different focal lengths, and I have to keep swapping out the lenses every few minutes, I will probably just not bring the lenses at all. The Tamron 17-70 is an f2.8 lens, so it's not as fast, it's not as bright as the Sigma lenses, but f2.8, it's not that bad. I'll live with the f2.8 and not have to worry about swapping out lenses. Now the autofocus on the Tamron lens is good. It's just as good as a Sony native lens. And honestly, I felt the same way about Sigma lenses. Now the Tamron is weather sealed, so it's splash and dust resistant. The Sigma Trio, the 16mm and the 56mm lenses were weather sealed, and the 30mm was not. Now there are 2 aspects of the Tamron lens that kind of kick the ass of the Sigma lenses. Now aside from the wider 16mm Sigma lens, the Tamron's widest is 17mm. So instead of getting a 24mm full frame equivalent on the Sigma, you're getting a 25.5 full frame equivalent on the Tamron. I can live with that, honestly. It's not that big of a difference. Now, using the Sigma 56mm, you are getting a full frame equivalent of 84mm. Now, with the Tamron, you can go up to 70mm, and that gives you a full frame equivalent of 105mm. You're getting way more reach with the Tamron, plus you're getting everything in between. 17, 30, 56, 60, 70. So you actually get more reach with this lens over the Sigma lenses, and you don't have to keep swapping out lenses. And probably the biggest reason why I decided to buy the Tamron lens and sell the Sigma Trio and even ignore the Sony 16-55 is the vibration compensation in this lens. So let's talk about that Sony lens real quick. The Sony 16-55mm f2.8 lens is probably the direct competitor of the Tamron. Now, the only thing that the Sony has over the Tamron is that its widest is 16mm. And on the Tamron, we're looking at 17mm. Now, as I said with the Sigma 16, I can live with the 17mm. It's not that big of a deal. Now, the Sony is just like the Sigma, where you can zoom in and it's a constant aperture of f2.8, but it only zooms up to 55mm, which is 82.5mm in full frame equivalent, versus the 70mm of the Tamron giving you 105. Boom! Awesome. The image quality overall is pretty much the same. The autofocus is pretty much the same. The biggest thing, just like the Sigma lens, the biggest thing that makes the Tamron victorious and kicks the ass over the Sony lens is the vibration compensation. Vibration compensation is built into this lens, so it's an optically stabilized lens. So it's very equivalent to Sony's optical steady shot, which is not in the Sony 16-55, which is ridiculous to me because that lens is $1,400. Why would you charge that much for a lens that does not have all the features that people are expecting? This lens, the Tamron 17-70mm f2.8, retails for only about $850, at least when I made this video. And I actually bought this lens for $499. I am not shitting you. I paid $499 on Amazon. It was a renewed item, but when it showed up, it was like brand new. Right about there, you can see this very faint light scuffing on the lens hood. That was the only sign of use on this lens. Aside from that, it was like brand new. I was really fortunate. Thank you, Amazon gods. Like the planets aligned for me and I was able to pick it up for that price. So hallelujah. I mean, it retails for $850. I think if you try to buy this used secondhand, it's probably about $700, somewhere around there. Sony 16-55 retails for like $1,400. If you try to buy it used, people are charging you $1,000 for that lens, and it still does not have any type of stabilization. No optical steady shot, no vibration compensation, nothing. So you are really limited in using it with a camera body that has stabilization, like the Sony A6500 or the Sony A6600 or the new ZV-E10 that has like electronic stabilization. So what do I use the Tamron 17-70mm f2.8 lens for? So I've had this lens for a couple months now and I've tested it here and there. I've primarily been using it for YouTube type videos. I'm not using it right now, obviously, because I have it here with me. If you're wondering, I'm using the Tamron 11-20mm f2.8 lens. I just got this maybe a month ago, trying it out, seeing if I like it. Yeah, there'll probably be a video about this lens in the future, so stay tuned, subscribe, yeah, do all that stuff. Anyways, yeah, I've been using the Tamron 17-70 for my YouTube like studio stuff, just like I would with the Sigma lenses, and it's been working fine. I don't notice too much of a difference between the f2.8 versus the 1.4. And again, I only upload stuff on YouTube. I'm not shooting anything professionally, so that bokeh is not that big of a deal. and the f1.4 for low light. If I'm using it in a studio setting just like this, for the most part, I usually have a ring light lighting up the scene. So the f1.4 is really not that big of a deal versus the 2.8 of the Tamron. I'm shooting 2.8 right now on this 11-20 and it's fine. Now, aside from YouTube studio recordings like this, I've actually been using the Tamron to go out and record performances of like acrobatics or burlesque or circus type stuff. Now, I'll show you some clips here. So this was actually my very first time taking out the lens and decided, hey, I'm gonna video this entire performance just using this lens. And I didn't have a stabilizer, I didn't have a gimbal or anything. This was all handheld. I was using vibration compensation in the lens, and my Sony A6100 that I had with me did not have any stabilization. So as you can see, the vibration compensation does a pretty good job. On low light, the autofocus was great. I didn't have any control of the lighting in any of these shots, and the image quality at f2.8 in low light, it just blew my mind. Now, fast forward about a month later, I was asked to do the same thing. Now, this time I actually brought my Weeble Lab gimbal to get more stable shots, to give it a little more professional look, I guess. Hopefully it came across that way. I still had vibration compensation in the lens, and as you can see, it did really, really well. The autofocus was great. The image quality looked awesome. Again, I didn't really have any control over the lighting. The image quality that comes out of this lens, even in low light, it's mind-blowing. Like, I watch some of that footage and just go, did I film that? Am I the one that shot that? Me? Some lowly YouTuber with barely 700 subscribers? Did I film that? Now, I haven't really used it for any like photography type stuff. What I would like to do is do another photo walk. And if you don't know what that is, about a year ago, I took the Sony 18-135. I just basically had a GoPro on the chesty mount walking around, getting you a POV perspective of me taking photos with that lens. And it kind of conveys the image quality and how good that lens is. So I'd like to do the exact same thing with the Tamron 17-70. If you enjoyed the first photo walk I did with the 18-135, stick around, subscribe, look forward to the 17-70 photo walk I'll be doing. This was not meant to be like a full-on review of this lens, because there's tons and tons of reviews of this lens already. If you're looking for unboxings, if you're looking for specs and technical pixel peeping stuff, the YouTube algorithm is saturated with stuff like that. I just want to give you a user experience, and that's been my experience so far, shooting YouTube videos and shooting performances. Yeah, I mean, this Tamron 17-70mm f2.8 lens, like I said in the introduction, is a beast. I love this lens. It is easily becoming my favorite lens, with good reason. Amazing. It's definitely a no-brainer if you don't already have the Sigma trifecta, if you don't have the Sony 16-55, get this lens. Get the Tamron 17-70mm f2.8. I replaced the Sigma Trio with this lens, and I do not regret it. All right, so that is gonna do it for today's video, guys. I hope you found it helpful and enjoyable. And if it was, please leave it a like. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And as always, please think about subscribing. That's gonna do it for today's video, guys. I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.